G'day everybody. Thank you for coming out to Good Oil. It's always great to see a room full of people still looking to invest in this incredibly important sector. What I'm going to take you through this morning is just exactly how important this sector is for Western Australia, an area where I would think everybody in this room lives, the big internationally recognised mining jurisdiction that we have here in WA, as well as moving into a lower carbon environment. Strike is going to be an incredibly important player in the West Australian energy system moving forward. Just for those that haven't come across us, we are a $1 billion ASX 300 listed pure Perth Basin upstream business. We've got a vast acreage position, about 3,000 square kilometres, where we operate all of our assets. We sit with 4 gas discoveries from the Permian in the north to the Jurassic in the south. We are imminently about to bring our first gas production online by the end of this month at the Walyering gas field. We're really catalyst rich. We're drilling at the moment. We're just about to start production. We're just about to take our next FID on our next project. So there's drilling, exploration, development, all happening simultaneously. We're still a small business, but we're very well capitalised. We sit with about $175 million on the balance sheet today, plus a further $80 million of contingent funding subject to our South Erregulla FID. The business itself, as you can see, has a big acreage position. We also own land in the Perth Basin where we will base a lot of our infrastructure moving forward, as well as some of our renewable developments. We have not only access to world-class renewable energy that sits in the Perth Basin through wind and solar, but we also have geothermal rights in the Perth Basin where we will ultimately look to invest some of our upstream expertise in bringing geothermal energy into the Perth Basin in the coming decade. Bottom 2 charts that you can see there, we've got currently sitting with around 981 petajoules of 2P, 2C. That's about 40% 2P, 60% 2C, where we've just undertaken and commenced a drilling campaign that will see the majority of conversion of 2C to 2P on success. So I expect to be able to come back here next year and show you that wagon wheel of a very large uncontracted reserves position. Those uncontracted reserves are being exposed to a market here in Western Australia that has got a vertically rising gas price. And that's because we have been underinvesting in our upstream reserves for a considerable period of time. You can see the rate of drilling in all of the basins of Western Australia in the top left-hand corner. There's an absolute capitulation of activity and investment. That is just the international cycles that have been going on, but also some of the positioning of gas in the early 2020s. Not only have we been underinvesting in new reserves, but we've been writing off existing domestic-only gas fields. We've seen the early watering out of various Carnarvon Basin fields, as well as we've seen write-offs in the Perth Basin and quite a slew of unsuccessful exploration, both offshore and onshore these days. That's all happening against the backdrop of a rising demand. This is a state that has 2 ammonia plants. We're building a urea facility. We've got 4 lithium hydroxide trains down at Kemerton being built by Albemarle. We have an incredibly large industrial gas market where gas is not just a source of electricity, but it's also a chemical or a thermal feedstock required for our large, about 1,200 terajoule a day market. That market is growing because every single public company in Western Australia that mines something out of the ground is under their own sustainability pressures. APA has just commissioned a new pipeline that will connect the Perth Basin across to the goldfields. That will unlock about 80 terajoules a day of new latent demand. Increasing on top of that is the government's commitment to exit coal-fired power. Currently, the West Australian government is the largest polluter in Western Australia because of the coal-fired power stations that they run under Synergy. So they've committed to exiting coal by 2029. That means that we're going to need to invest a lot more money in renewables, which can unfortunately be intermittent. That means we're going to need more gas-fired generation, and we're estimating a further 163 terajoules a day of new demand coming from gas-fired generation. And when we look at the bottom chart on the right-hand side, the underinvestment, the write-off reserves is causing the industrial gas market to pull on their stored gas. We've seen 23 petajoules pulled out of storage since 2021 on a net basis. So we're not replacing our stored gas. And that's so the spot market prices that we're seeing today of that $10 to $11 range is not truly reflective of how much demand there is actually for gas at this time. When we look at what's just happened this quarter, it's a really interesting quarter. For anyone who lives in Western Australia, they will recognise that it's been pretty cold, hasn't been that windy, and it's been very, very overcast. We've actually set 2 new records this quarter in Western Australia. All-time electricity demand. That's because we're electrifying everything. Everyone's buying electric cars. Everyone's got multiple devices on themselves right now. But also, secondly, the demand for gas-fired electricity generation is the highest that it's ever been in Western Australia. And that's because the ageing coal fleet for Synergy is becoming incredibly unreliable. That's a function of the reliability of the coal mines, as well as the lack of maintenance going in to these coal-fired power stations that are getting shut down over 24, 27 and 29. So what's happening is we're seeing the increase in gas demand, which is actually from electricity generation, and that's increasing the amount of gas we're using in our electricity system. You can see that on the right-hand chart up there, the balancing price of electricity in WA has been rising significantly on average every year. For 5 hours of an average day in Western Australia, the electricity demand on gas is intimating a gas price of $10 or greater. So that means that electricity demand is what's driving these spot prices that are going up. And we can see that in the amount of electricity produced by gas just this quarter. How is Strike going to be a big major participant in that? Well, we're going to be supplying a lot of gas. We're just about to start up the Walyering gas field. It's a 33 terajoule a day facility with about 250 barrels a day of condensate production. We have sold 20 terajoules a day on a firm basis to Santos down the Parmelia, and we have an as-available portion on top of that. We've announced recently on the 14th of August we're looking to consolidate the ownership of the Walyering gas field through a scheme of arrangement with our joint venture partner Talon. This project has been Strike's, let's say it's been coming of age. We've gone from being an explorer to a developer, and we're just about to become a producer. We may have underestimated how hard it is to build a greenfield project at this exact moment in Western Australia, but it's been pretty bloody quick. We FID'd this in August last year, and in that time we did not have our production licence, we did not have our field management plans approved, and we did not have our safety cases and all of our development approvals from the regulator. So that 12-month time frame has also included a significant amount of regulatory approval. That then, this facility is going to generate about $82 million on a consolidated basis in the next 12 months. So that's money that we're going to be able to take to build out the financial foundation of Strike to move into our self-investing and self-funding development process. That takes us through to South Erregulla. We're currently drilling away at South Erregulla at the moment. We're in the South Erregulla 2 well. South Erregulla is made up of 128 petajoules of 2P and 178 petajoules of 2C in the Kingia and a further 91 petajoules of 2C in the Wodgina. This well is looking to convert that 2C in the Kingia sandstone to 2P. This is all 100% owned by Strike. We own this farm that you can see here in this picture. So we've got uninhibited access to these reserves and resources. On success, we'll look to complete this well as a producer. We're probably a few weeks away from being at TD. We're about 3,600 metres or so at the moment drilling in the Cockatier. Currently on track to be one of the fastest, deepest wells ever drilled in the Perth Basin. And that just goes to show you the amount of IP that the company has been developing by being at the pioneer and at the frontier of the deep end of the basin. Once we convert that 2C to 2P, we'll be looking to take an investment decision at South Erregulla. We've sent our team off to Calgary to the fabrication yard at Enerflex. We're comfortable that this modular 40 terajoule a day design that we're going to go with is the right way to move forward. We'll then look to expand the 40 TJs to a further 40 terajoules to 80 terajoules a day. We're taking a lot of the learnings that we've taken from Walyering and we're investing those into South Erregulla. We're reducing our exposure to West Australian construction industries by building in a fabrication yard where people go to work and they drive home every day. They've got access to tools and we're not constrained by accommodation, etc. Secondly, we have got all of our primary approvals submitted ahead of the FID. So the field management plan, the production licence and the primary environmental approval has all been submitted in advance of FID. So once we take FID and we say to the market, how long is it going to take for us to go from here till when it'll be online? That is a time frame that Strike is predominantly in control of. And so that way we can start to get into a better routine of delivering our projects as and when we say that we will do so. So Strike has got an amazingly exciting story at the moment. No, we are very well capitalised, and that is what's delivering not only the production at Walyering, as I said, on success of the scheme, that will be delivering an $80-odd million cash flow to Strike, on top of the $175 million of cash that we and undrawn debt that we have on hand, and the further $80 million of development funding that we have from Macquarie Bank. That production is the cornerstone that will lead into the 5-well drilling campaign that is all approved and is underway. It's all got rig slots. We've got 2 near-field exploration wells with our new joint venture partner up at West Erregulla with Hancock. That is the Southwest Erregulla 1 well and the Erregulla Deep 1 well. Erregulla Deep looking really, really good, on trend with the Lockyer North Erregulla Deep discoveries and on trend to the further big Tathra Terrace opportunities that we have there as well. And then we've got the South Erregulla 2 and 3 appraisal wells, which are underway as we speak. And then we've also got another appraisal well that we want to drill at Walyering. We've put so much time, energy and effort and resources into building out Walyering. We've got a compartment where we've seen commercial production from. We've got 21 petajoules of 2C resource there. So we've got a rig slot and we're going to dedicate that to the Walyering 7 well to make sure that Walyering is producing at its absolute nameplate for as long as possible. And then finally, the development phase, just when you get out on the back end of one project, the next project's right in behind us, and that's South Erregulla, moving that into the construction phase before the end of the year, as I said, receiving primary approvals and then taking an investment decision there. So Strike is in an amazing position where we are looking over the next several years to be bringing 4 sources of gas online and probably producing on a gross basis around 20% to 25% of West Australia's domestic energy. We're going to do that in the most sustainable and modern way possible. We integrate renewable energy wherever we can. We design out our emissions, and we are what a modern upstream gas company should be. So that's all I have time for. Thanks, Chrissy.